Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of the Hollywood Makers. Today we are very honored to have with us multi-award winning writer, award-nominated executive producer and publisher, founder of Unsugarcoated Media, entrepreneur, survivor, and mother of four, Aalia Lanius. Today, I have the honor and pleasure of having such a great guest. She's a female powerhouse, and it is such an honor to have her as our first actual guest on the Hollywood Makers. I already feel who she is, all that she brings to the table, but I would like her to tell you in her own words her story, because it's such a powerful story of resilience and perseverance and power. So here with us is Aalia. Please let us know a little bit about yourself for the audience.
Well, thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here, Claudia. It's amazing, the invitation to know that I'm the first. What an honor. I'm so excited. About me, I think that one of the things that I'm just very passionate about right now is that, creating social impact through storytelling. I feel that as creatives, we are pioneers of new ways of thinking. And it's, I'll say this, when it comes to life, I think that there's three things that really empower us. And that is our resilience, our adaptability, the ability to stay in a state of flow. When something happens, you don't stay focused on the problem, you focus on the solution and you adjust, right? And then the willingness to always, and openness to always grow. To me, that is some of the key things that I'm about. And I want to infuse those ideas and philosophies in books, films, podcasts, what we produce, events. So that's what we do, and that's what I do, and I love it. When you do what you love, you really do get up every day thinking I can't wait to get started.
So a little background information on Aalia. She, obviously, I already beginning all this great stuff that she's doing. She's also a mom of four, and she created her own businesses from the ground up. But her backstory, your backstory, Aalia, is so powerful because you have really overcome what other people would think are unsurmountable obstacles. So tell us a little bit about the beginning of Aalia's story.
Well, thank you. Well, I am a Cali native through and through. My family, as I was telling you, has been here for a very, very long time. In fact, when you're driving down Figueroa Street in Los Angeles, I am a descendant of the Figueroa family. Mm-hmm. But like a lot of Latin families, the wealth and things that were happening in the 1800s was lost through 100 years of changes. Mm-hmm. And so I find myself growing up in California in a middle-class family, and very strict, very old-fashioned, and also still dealing with what I like to call generational chains and traumas. So I've been on my own since I was 14 years old. Not because I didn't have a lovely family, but because there was a lack of emotional intelligence as a result of some of those generational issues. And I know what it's like to be homeless as a teenager and to have nowhere to go. I entered adulthood very difficultly. But, I can't lie, Claudia, because I was determined, because I did not give up, because I think the universe wouldn't let me give up, right? I remember trying to take my life once, it didn't work. I was like, all right, God, you clearly have me here for a reason. And as I moved through different times in my life and I focused on giving back always as a part, because of what I had gone through, that empathy for others, it just projected me and into a world of owning businesses for myself, being a leader in my community. I also still came up against other obstacles though. So once I got my feet on the ground and started finding success in business and in family, I was also dealing with cancer and health issues that I overcame. And yes, as a mother of, four now, three then, that was definitely not easy. And a lot of people didn't survive it. A lot of people don't. And I will say that I am one of those people that I've learned that I had just enough trauma happen in my life that I didn't develop negative coping mechanisms, external ones at least, because I had to survive. Then I had children. So it wasn't even just about me surviving for myself. It was surviving for them. right? And so those were some of the things that I have definitely overcome. Then I did find myself in a marriage. In my previous marriage, my last marriage, there was domestic violence, there was narcissism, there was abuse, and ultimately a very confident decision to choose myself and choose the health of myself and my family over, having this fake life for everyone else to think that I was living. And now I've just been very excited. I'm remarried. I have my 4th daughter now. And I just, my husband's in film. We both travel the world looking for ways to do amazing things that don't just help ourselves, but help others.
That's amazing. It's such a powerful story. And obviously all the details of this are in your first book, which is Tough Love. An amazing way of closing all those chapters, but also helping other people understand that you can get out, you can do better, you can close the negative energy around you and turn it into positive, like you've done. And it's just amazing. It's such a great way to tell people out there, not just the makers, but anyone that is going through struggles, that there is a light at the end of the tunnel if you are willing to do the work and get out and love yourself, right? So I love that about your book.
Thank you. Well, and it's also about putting on a different lens, right? See, a lot of people, and I love a comeback story. I don't, people seem, you're pushing divorce. You're trying to break the family structure. No, I'm really not. But to end generational trauma, we have to be able to allow people to grow up in healthier situations, and we have to give ourselves permissions to have healthier situations. But, I'm all about a great story and a great comeback. If you have 2 people willing and wanting to, and making the things happen that will create a great space and a great relationship with respect, right? And compatibility and things like that, then man, all day long. But it's putting on the lens that being divorced doesn't mean somebody didn't love me, right? It's not about that. It's about us loving ourselves as individuals, male or female, and saying, I know that I need better in my life. Because for me, that's what it was. When I came once again to the doctor calling me and say, Aalia, because when I was in remission, that's the one thing they used to always say, letting stress and all these things into your life is opening the window and saying, come back in. And it's not just cancer, it's other disease, dis-ease, right? Other issues, depression, mental health challenges. So if you don't live in an environment that, is supportive to you and you're supportive to it, right? So if you can move past this idea that, because when that phone call came, that I had now was once again fighting for my life. Oh, let me tell you, I was like, I'm done with this. I am fighting here. I fought to be here. I'm not going to allow somebody else's negative or inability to have a healthy relationship. And that's okay. Like, I forgive and I don't regret my marriage, but I move forward, like you said, because it's not like it's just a closed chapter. It's not the end of our story. I still got to post. You still got to post. Like, our story goes on every single day. So I think it's just about how we allow ourselves to have those mindset shifts that give us a new way to look at things. And then we're empowered to move forward, right?
That's awesome. And I think that reflects also on your second book, and it's German, so I hope I say it right. Jugend,
yes.
Okay,
yes.
Awesome. In that one, it's also about empowering the main characters that you have in there, 2 teenage boys, and I'll let you talk about the book as well. But in that one, you dive into multiculturalism and the power that one person can have against racism or prejudice. And I think it's wonderful that you have been able to transition from one book to the other, where the stories are not the same, but it's all about the human desire to change and be better.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yes, Jugend was my second novel. And it started with just as the story within my heart of how kids are very powerfully influenced by adults, right? And I'm going to be very honest, when I wrote that novel, it was 2017. I had just had my daughter. So I was writing 2 books right after I had my 6-year-old daughter now. And what started it was what I was seeing on Facebook, all this negative stereotyping, discrimination. What divides us is an illusion. I firmly believe that. Like I said, going back to our multicultural ability, that superpower, I'm like, I know what's up in all these families. I know what divides us is an illusion, and if we could see it. And also taking that youth, those teenagers, they're so powerful. And so I loved being able to take one story of a young boy who's 14. He's in Atlanta, Georgia. He's unfortunately fallen into the hands of a white supremacy group. And through some sequence of actions, because he is orphaned, he was strategically placed in the household of a Muslim family to prove that they were terrorists. And then juxtaposed to that, now this is the real part of the story, based on real events. In 1937, just prior to World War II, when we know lots of things were happening, the Hitler Youth sent a group of young teenagers to do bike tours. And this is kind of fascinating because a lot of people don't know this. So they didn't have satellites in 1937. You needed boots on the ground to map out and sketch things. Well, they sent teenagers to do this on behalf of the Third Reich. This really happened. And so I took a story of one of those German youth and I put him in the household of a Jewish family that the Third Reich was interested because they were kind of prominent. And so at the end, so the journey of these two boys is uncovering what they've been told versus what they are seeing, what they are experiencing, and how that impacts everything that they've been taught to believe, and ultimately their decisions. So, a lot of people think it is a real book. It is a very honest in the sense of what people go through, what they experience. I put quotes in there that came out of the mouths of my own children. In fact, I always kind of, as a true artist, we always draw on real things in our lives. There's descriptions of the blonde hair, blue-eyed Arab girl is based on my real daughter. So, I really took an opportunity to, instead of going online, fighting with people and saying, you don't understand us, I said, let me paint a story. Let me present something that hopefully might change your mind and show you the dangers of rhetoric and racism to our families and communities that don't deserve it, no matter who you are, right? Yeah. So that's something that I'm very proud of. That book has won, multiple awards. We have people want to put it into a movie format. I'm down, whether we put it in a series or a film. But honestly, I think that timely-wise, people in the Arab community or Muslim community want to be represented other than a terrorist, other than the bad guy, with yalla yalla and habibi and all that. Like we want to be shown for our beauty and our connection to this earth. And I think that as writers and creatives, that's our opportunity to do it.
And this brings me to the next section of this, because you're also an executive producer and your husband is involved in films, which I think is a great idea to bring that as a movie, by the way. I don't know, we haven't done it yet. But tell me a little bit about that. How did you get involved into that area? Because I think a lot of our viewers and listeners are part of this new generation that want to make and tell their stories. And you have been able to do that. So having a person that can guide with like your pitfalls and what you think worked for you might help them take that first step. But sometimes the first step is the hardest one to take.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, first of all, having my husband, Joseph Lanius, he's produced well over 100 films throughout his career, contributed. He started out as an entertainment attorney. And yes, we still have an entertainment law firm, but we've moved more into executive producing. So finance, strategy, and, whether it's bringing or we're offering, just the different ways we can help people make their films. And having someone like him to, share a journey and not only develop a network, but say to myself, I can do anything I want to do. And now I really want to indulge the creative side of what I've been doing for years. Like that was everything. It felt empowering to have that. And then with regards to that first step, I mean, it's so funny because the other day I was talking to somebody, he's a very, very well-known actor, right? We were having lunch and he was like, people say I should write a book. And he's like, but I just don't know where I would even begin. And I shared with him my process, which was I started with what is a message I have and what part of my life can speak to that. So for example, with Tough Love, it was always my initial desire to help other people give themselves permission to get out of a toxic relationship and stop looking as the outcome is like scary, but instead, like we said, opportunity. And so to me, the process of anybody wanting to start that journey is, what is the message you want to tell? What is the message you have for somebody? And how, whether it's from your own life or whether it's something that you've seen and you identify as like, I want to tell this story, that's to me where you start. And, you know, I don't know how else to say it than like, you don't know how powerful your story is until you're willing to share it. And, you know, like you said, yeah, it does. And the pitfalls, I think, for some other people are that you're concerned people won't like it or it's not good enough. But let me tell you something, it's not about that. And every part of this is an incubator stage. You know, like it's an incubator. For example, my first book, Tough Love, actually, we're going to do a re-release of it because it was my first novel, right? So I, of course, as a creative, I go back and I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. I could have done that so much better. I want a do-over. And I get to give myself a do-over because it's not about being perfect, right? Our philosophy is there's no such thing as failure. You move forward, you grow forward, you know, you learn what works and you keep doing that. But in this industry, it is about not only the strength of the story you're telling, but the people you're connecting that can help you also get it out there. So that's very important. Developing a network. My husband and I are fixtures at the major film festivals around this world every single year. Cannes, Toronto. In fact, I just got COVID in Toronto for the second time. But you know, TIFF, Cannes, Berlin Film Festival, AFM, all these things, we're fixtures so that we know what's going on. And if we do have projects, we have a better idea of how to move those things forward.
And that's awesome because you're giving opportunity to the newcomers to be able to be Hollywood makers, right? The people that are making and telling the stories. I always tell people that everybody, like you said, has a story to tell. If you just sit down and listen, you'll be amazed about all the people can learn from somebody else's story. So tell me a little bit about the process of writing, though, because at the time you wrote the first book, you had 3 kids.
Yes.
And you were going through a lot of stuff.
Wait, no, 4. I had 4.
You already had the 4th by the time you wrote stuff. Okay, sorry. So you had your 4 kids and you wrote a book. I have 3 kids, and to find the time for myself is always hard. I cannot imagine finding the time to sit down and write a book, which I did write a small book about traveling. And I tell you, that took a lot of time. And it was like not even 30,000 words. But how do you find the time to write 2 books when you have to be a mom and an entrepreneur? Tell me a little bit about that process.
Well, there are 2 things. There's the one thing that stands out when you say that, my dear, mi amor. You won't find time if you really get up every day and you go about our business, because there's always something that needs to be done, right? A doctor's appointment, a lunch that needs to be made, a homework assignment that has to be done. Like, believe me, my kids range from 26 to 4 years old. And actually, just to give you an idea, my daughter, my youngest, was born on January 5th of 2017. I released my first novel February 2nd, 2018. So within that year, while I was having a newborn, and then I kicked out another book that came out a year later. That's when Jürgen. So those first 2 years, yes, I was making the most of every moment I could. And obviously, when you have a baby that small, there is no such thing as free time other than when they're napping, right? But this is the thing, you have to plan for it. You can't find it, you have to plan for it. So, you know, carving out an hour to just start and to sit down. I find that as moms too, a lot of times afterwards we lay down. I laugh at the reels right now. We get the kids settled. We think, oh yeah, I'm going to go do something. I'm going to get a couple. What do? We grab our phone and we start looking at reels. And then an hour later, we're going to bed. We're like, okay, I didn't get anything then. Well, listen, you have to detach yourself from those things. You have to be disciplined so that you say, I carved out some time right now. I feel I have a little energy. Because to me, if I wrote at night, I would often wake up the next morning and be like, was I crazy? Was I crazy? Hold on. But you've got something that you can work with. Mm-hmm. So, and you're going through it. And so next thing you know, you're like, okay, even if you just plan to write 10 pages a day, or even part of a chapter a day, it's incremental. The compound effect is not about doing everything at once. And if you give yourself an hour to 2 hours a day, find it to say, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to write, or
Right.
I'm going to, it's like if you dedicate yourself to that, turn off the phone, and as that little incremental time goes on and you see the progress, there's no excuse. Da Vinci only had 24 hours in a day, right? Einstein only had 24 hours in a day. Cleopatra only had 24 hours in a day. I don't know. But we have it. We just have to plan for it, because otherwise life does get away from us. I know that's so easy. Trust me. Because honestly, I do have my third book that's ready to go, and I'm trying to find time in between creating and curating PowerCon and running Unsugarcoated Media, and still being a wife, a mother, and a person, right? Because I need 5 minutes to myself. So the times that we can, we should use them, and just get feedback. Like, write something and then share it with your closest friend and say, hey, what do you think about this? Sometimes having an accountability or somebody just share a little bit with it, and they get excited and they're like, oh, that's good, keep going, that helps. So that brings me to the second thing. So plan for it. And the second thing is have a support system where you can around you. I will say I did have to have babysitters at times with my kids to give myself that opportunity to work. So again, planning, and then leveraging what support you do have to stop making excuses and get it done.
That's so easy to do, right? Because like you said, life gets in the way, and then it's like, oh, I couldn't because so and so and so. So congrats. I'm glad that you have another book. We're going to be talking about that soon, hopefully. And now going back to the fact that you have also your Unsugarcoated company, and you also have the podcast, and you have a very important conference that you started in PowerCon. Tell me a little bit about each of those facets of your life. How did it start? How did you have the courage to start it? And where did you find the mediums that would let you be able to create those things?
Sure. Thank you. Okay, so Unsugarcoated Media came about as I started writing my books, because as much as I love being a creative who wants to create social impact, I know that I'm not alone. So Unsugarcoated Media was born of a desire. And funny enough, I remember thinking about like PBS, right? PBS is a great nonprofit 501c3, educational platform. But I wanted to be a little bit more edgier than that. I was like, I love Sesame Street, but we're not doing Sesame Street. We're taking on real social issues and causes directly, unsugarcoated, right? And so that then morphed into being able to mentor. So we have an internship program, an international internship program that we take. We work with USC film and media major journalism students, right? People who want to learn communications and marketing. Even the people who run our social media platforms are young creatives who want to not only find a career, but find a career that helps them make the world a better place. So I get to combine that through Unsugarcoated Media. And then one of the things we also produce, so we produce short documentaries, we produce the books. Technically, they are published through Unsugarcoated Media. And then Unsugarcoated with Aalia, our social good podcast, is also an opportunity for these young creatives to get in the back end and learn how to, produce and be part of post-production and pre-production and all that. And we film it out at the studios in Burbank. So it's an amazing thing. And then, of course, I had to go a bit bigger, because in PowerCon, so as I mentioned, I'm a 3-time cancer survivor, and I'm also a businesswoman. I owned my first business at 22 years old. I've done very well in the business world. So I wanted to take all that I had learned and then apply it to, social impact. But as part of that, as a cancer survivor, there's a wonderful event that I would go to. And I love them because they weren't trying to sell you anything. Not against any, if anybody's ever been to an Herbalife event or an Amway event, or even, what's the other one that I'm thinking off the top of my head right now? A real estate event, right? Where they're trying to sell you a program. I'm not dogging those, but what I do like is the opportunity where personal development comes into play. And so the cancer events that I used to go to, they weren't selling anything other than, hey, remember that you're, I don't know if I can curse on here. I probably won't. You're a badass, that you've got this, that, cancer is not a death sentence. And for me, it transformed my fight in life, right? Mm-hmm. So, and I love my community. I do a lot there, But when it came to EmpowerCon and what I want to do with the public, it goes beyond even the cancer community. And I really do say it. People don't, always get it, but I say my community is survivors of trauma. People who have just been through it, and we really have to hone in that resiliency, adaptability, and openness to growth. And so EmpowerCon is a day that I curate. And I love it because I can infuse the media, the entertainment, and personal development all together. We started it in 2019, and of course, then the pandemic came along, and it really is meant for community building. So in person is the only way I want to do it. And we finally got the opportunity to do it again, October 21st at the LA Convention Center, West Hall. It's really an intimate human experience with keynote speakers. So picture TED Talks with empowering performances. We have spoken word. We have a musical artist coming. We have workshops that are, because it's all about admit that we have issues, ask the questions. So there's an interactive Q&A panel with the CEO of Chamber of Commerce of Santa Monica, the Senior Vice President of Nickelodeon Animation Studios, relationship coaches, entrepreneurial coaches, people, we can all come together and ask questions. And then the third session is really adjust, because we want to empower people so that you adjust the trajectory of your life, gain those tools that you need, so that when you go home, you're not just a better person for yourself, but for your family, for your workplace, for your community. It's a trickle effect. And I do believe, Claudia, I don't know if you agree with me, but if we treated this world as if we all had PTSD, I think we would actually be healthier. But because we're not, right? We're not acknowledging, and I can't even lie for myself. It took me a long time to even say, oh, wait, that was trauma. I didn't associate it as a traumatic event, but it was a traumatic event. And we just went through this collective traumatic experience together, literally history. We are history. They will look back on us in 100 years, be like, what did these people do in 2020? And as we move into this, I wanted to curate an event that really empowers people for what we've just gone through as a collective trauma. So that's what it's about.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And we're just grateful to be doing it. And how all these things that I do, it just keeps us going. It's all intertwined. And, it, like I said at the beginning, every day I get up, I'm like, all right, ready to go. What are we doing now?
That's amazing. I want to have some of your batteries sometimes. So tell me a little bit of EmpowerCon, since we just talked about it. How do people get connected to be able to attend? And if they're not able to attend this year for whatever reason, is it something that you will continue, and how do they get more information?
I love that. Thank you. Well, EmpowerCon, unsugarcoatedmedia.com/EmpowerCon is where you can find out and buy tickets, or Eventbrite. And actually, if you reach out to us on social media, like our IG page, or EmpowerCon_LA, I'll be happy to share those with you so you can share them with your audience. But there is an opportunity. You have two choices. For people that can afford to buy a ticket, it's $49. There's also a discount, $10 off, $39. You can get it. That's a tax-deductible donation that supports Unsugarcoated Media and what we do, like having EmpowerCon. Or there is a promo code that you can get and go 100% free for your registration for the main event, which is from 10. The registration starts at 9. The event's 10 to 5. And then actually off work, we have a little after party that's also being planned, so we can grow. And then at the evening we want to celebrate it together, right? So it's really cool. These are just through our website, unsugarcoatedmedia.com, so you can learn and see some of the great speakers we have. We have Larry Namer, the co-founder of E Entertainment. Everyone's heard of E, right? He'll be on our stage to empower and talk about influence and the blueprint moving forward. And we have, like I said, mentioned all these other amazing speakers. So that's the best way. And then but on Eventbrite, you can also just look up EmpowerCon as well. So either of those two ways, to me, it's okay. Even if you're like, I don't know your event, I don't know if I want to spend money for it. Fine, get the free one. Come check it out, because last time, people, we get such a great response. And I cry at the end because I know people, they come up to me. People months later would be like, I'm still benefiting from what I got that day. And, it's just it's that pick me up. I'm not saying EmpowerCon is going to fix your life, but, for somebody who's maybe you're already on the personal development journey, this is another, you got to keep those going. Anybody who knows, right? You don't go to church and then stop and say, okay, I got filled up and then that's it. I don't need to go again, right? Yeah. We benefit from the fellowship, from the continuing education in our lives, because my evolution has become my revolution. I'm sure for you it has as well. And this is just an opportunity to be inspired, to have connection and grow, personal growth.
Yeah, I love it. And I think at the end of the day, we are always looking for that human connection. We want to be connected. We want to feel that we're seen and heard. So those kind of events are amazing. I can't wait to go because I will be there for the first time. And so tell me a little bit, now that we have this hot topic about empowering and writing and all that, give me a little bit of your take on the Hollywood strikes.
I mean, for one, for the industry, I think that it's going to be an absolute rush for everybody to get back. Because to be honest, this was worse than the pandemic in the sense that at least during the pandemic, right, you could share projects, you could get like actors to read, hey, you're not going anywhere, here, read a script. You couldn't do that. Everything was literally at a standstill. And, I know for projects that our firm has, either they had to be working towards moving internationally or just push them all the way back at all. I know one of my husband's projects, it was a co-production with Sony. Blake Lively's in it. It's called the film It Ends With Us, based on the popular novel. Those things are now pushed till next year. And that really hurt the independent film space, right? Mm-hmm. So from a media perspective, I think it's going to be just a mad dash to gear up, get everybody back to work, get people, who needed to put food on their table and keep, because we just went through a pandemic, as if we didn't go through enough. To be quite honest, I'm not going to lie. You don't want to hate the networks because we kind of need them, right? We need somebody to sell to. But, yes, we need that distribution. But I can't lie. I'm so upset that they let it go this long, because these are real people, real families. The people that this hurt the most, they don't have money to sit around and just, it was a real, to me, it was just it was a blatant disrespect of the people and the waivers and all the things that we were going through. And then SAG, like all these, it's good. And I also will say, my thought is that SAG gave it the power that it really did need. I think if SAG had not also went on strike, then who knows how long the writer's strike would have gone on for, to be quite honest. Yeah. And I also think that just being at TIFF, and I know I'm going to go back to, that question of how this with the media is the responsibility, but I think that something also shifted because Toronto Film Festival was not the same. No pre-sales were happening. They couldn't, right? A lot of people didn't even, it was a different energy. And I think that was like maybe a first test of how long could they really push this. And I'm glad to see that now, only weeks after, when really we were hearing that this was going to go a lot longer, right? Like even initially I heard they weren't going to come to any resolution before the end of October. So I'm so glad that we're getting this done now. I think that it is the responsibility for everyone to come together, as we did during the pandemic, make these things work. For independent film, which I think is a very key, not everybody's got studio money, right? So really a lot of the creatives we're talking to are independent. And that doesn't mean you're broke. That just doesn't mean you're 50 million and above budget, because really independent can go up to like 25 million, right? So I think actors, SAG actors, when they're dealing with independent, they need to be a bit nicer and a little bit more like, you're not dealing with studio money. So if you really believe in us, as you said, during this whole strike, then show that in the actions. And then I think that the media is going to have to support the industry and just keep reporting authentically on what's happening and what the impact is, so that this doesn't happen again. Because it's only a 3-year contract though too. What's going to happen in 3 years? Yep. What else, did they really get all that they needed? So that's my thought on it. I don't know if you agree, but.
Oh no, I totally agree. I think that it was very insulting that they have been using the talent of all these people to make all this money and not want to share in a minuscule part of what they can. So I'm glad that this is kind of ending, except SAG still in the midst of it. But the other shift that's happening in the industry is AI. And I just read that a lot of very prominent writers, like book writers, not TV or film, but book writers, actually putting the lawsuit against OpenAI. So what is your thought on AI and the creative process, you as a writer and as somebody that's in the industry?
Right. Absolutely. Well, so we use AI to a point within our organization. It's funny because I always talk to them about, I want you to be able to know it, to leverage it, to be able to use it as a tool, but not to replace you. AI can do a lot of things. Like there's parts of AI that are very fascinating, and they're not necessarily, the reality is with anything, we know it with social media, we know it with plastic, we know it with fast food. You can't have the good without the bad. Right? It's the yin and the yang. Unfortunately, there is always a double-edged sword when it comes to these things. And, so while you have a lot of people focusing on the negative because there is this uncertainty on how you're going to use this, there is a good side to it. But for writers, no, listen, first of all, even when people are like, so are you a ghostwriter? Do you hire someone to write for you or do you write for yourself? I'm insulted. I'm like, no. I wrote this. Like, I might have had a copy editor, and I might even use AI. I think for us as writers, like as a copy editor, it could maybe help and save, but it doesn't have the same humanity that we do. It just can't get that deep. It can do really cool, but there's, again, I know prompts. I understand that it's all about what you tell it, but there are things that AI absolutely cannot do, and that is replace our humanity. So while I'll use it as a tool and as a support, I don't, and on top of it, I would never want to risk my ability to actually properly copyright it, because you can't copyright AI work. It's not authentic. It's not originated from you. So I would caution writers to be thinking that, oh, well, now with this, I can just write 10, 15 books a year. And really, I'm a person who believes in quality over quantity. So be careful with that. And, ultimately take pride, because to me, that's the other thing about the whole, why they treat writers so horribly. I'm like, we're the superstars. You wouldn't even have anything to put on film if it wasn't for a writer who started that, right? It's come from the birth. So we're the celebrities, and we're not treated like celebrities, even though we are. We should, it's like, oh, they're just the writer. Really, I'm the creator of this. So what do you mean? Yes. So, but I want other people to find the positives and be able to use it to their benefit, but also not take away and not try to, like I said, that quality, because then you see it already. We're having an explosion of content, but that's not always a good thing, because then you just shorten your ability to really be recognized for what I hope is important work that you're doing, or an amazing message that you're trying to put out there in the world. So don't let AI take that from us, right? That's my thought.
I always, Rosie and I, we have talked about the idea that AI is not something that you have to be afraid of, but it's something you have to embrace because it's the future. It's just knowing how to work it so it doesn't become your enemy,
right?
Or somebody it's not gonna take your job if you don't know about it.
Yeah, and there's so many different elements. So look, when it comes to Web3 in general, and I talk on these issues, Web3, including AI, AR, VR, extended reality, metaverse, all these things, virtual reality, because in reality, we have a physical landscape, then we have the 2D, we have a computer that we get on, and that's a landscape, and the digital world. And then we have this immersive world. So we have now 3 worlds that we actually exist in, right? And AI, look, there's wonderful things about those technologies that I can speak to. For example, the kid in Compton who would have the opportunity to tour the Louvre because in a way that he wouldn't otherwise. There's the cancer patient sitting in a bed who may be inspired because they're able to have AI generate a conversation, right? I've seen toys that they take and you program the script in it. And now your kid's not doing I see you. Now the toys are talking to each other and role playing out scripts. I've also seen where you can, we know AI can assess a person's personality. So it's coming to the point where I can have a conversation with my grandfather if the technology exists and there's enough data about him where I have a question and I want to have a conversation with my grandfather who I love and respected and say, what would you think about this? And have a form of AI that gives that to me, right? Or for a child who lost their parent too young and can somehow get closure. There's so many ways that it is positive, and I so agree with you that if you can get yourself away from the fearful mindset and learn to embrace the positives, it's in fact important because it's not going anywhere. And what we know about, people who embrace technology is you then learn and have experiences that other people often miss out on.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that we want to do here at Hollywood Makers is empower people to learn tools, right? The tools that you're giving right now are so valuable. Like I have to do like notes afterwards for the video to make sure that I don't miss anything you said. But those tools are what empower people to get out of bed, to get out of their sofa, of their seat, and to start creating. Because I do believe that there's a lot of people who not just want to be in front of the camera, but behind the camera and create and tell stories and personal stories that can change other people. And that's how, entertainment becomes more powerful.
Right.
And I love that you're doing that with a PowerCon because you're combining those forces to make sure that people can get the help or the manageable ideas that they can do more, right?
Yes.
So coming to a conclusion, because obviously I've taken so much of your time already, and I could talk to you for hours, but your mental health, you have been through so much in your past, but now your mental health is at a different, area of your life because you have so much to handle, so many demands from you. How do you keep balance in your life to be able to be the mom and the wife, Aalia, without any other requests out of you? How do you manage balance for well-being and your health?
It is a journey, that is for sure. It's not easy. I think that one of the ways that I do that is I look for the good in everything that I do. Again, I think that always staying on if there's an issue, what's the solution? I'm tired. I'm gonna take a minute. I'm gonna take a beat. You have to be able to be okay with your schedule and what you're doing and say, this is okay. And even, and I'm not gonna lie, I've been in stages of my life where, it can really be a difficult day. It can be a difficult day. But I have on my wall up here, I'm looking at it, it's on the other side of my office wall. And it says, when you love what you have everything you need, right? And the funny thing about that is that for 6 months, and I'm a writer, I'm like, the whole, you guys be attention to detail and don't catch errors in spelling, right? Although never judge me on my texting. I say, don't judge me on my texting. So I don't count that. But the funny thing is that the poster and the everything you need part, there's a Y missing from everything. But the reason I say this is we laughed. I said, oh my gosh, this thing has been sitting here for 6 months and I didn't realize the Y was missing. And at first I thought, why would they sell it like that? Like, I was like, really, truly, this thing is like defunct. And then I realized, no, that's the point. You didn't notice that the Y was gone because you already were focused on the right things. Mm-hmm. So for me, how my mental health gets through every day, it's okay. I write a list. I have my phone. I have my little notes, right? And I go to bed, okay, this I'm going to do tomorrow. And as the day comes up, the things I do get off, they get taken off. Fantastic. The things that don't, they go on to tomorrow's list. It's okay. I do focus on movement. I do breath work. I do visualization. I encourage anyone, even if you think I don't have time to meditate, there's wonderful YouTube, go to sleep, hypnosis, it's reaffirmations while you're sleeping. And I would go, even my 6-year-old will do them with me. She loves it. She's like, I want to go to bed, Tanya. You are capable. All these little affirmation things and, saying deeply, teaching yourself, because, and I do have to say this is so critical. This is an operating system right here between our head and what we program it, right? All these people who don't understand AI and don't understand the prompts and right, what we go in and tell what we tell Chat GPT is ultimately going to determine the quality of what we get back, because we're very clear, we're very concise. I want you to do this for me. We can do that with our brain because every computer board is based off of the human brain. Neurons, networks, all these different compartments, it's all right here. But if we don't understand the belief systems is our operating system, I tell myself, you know what? You've got this. You're doing the right thing. You're moving in the right direction. You don't need to be afraid. You don't have to be afraid that you're failing because you're not failing. And it comes in validations. And that's the other piece. Be open to the things that show you from the world that you're moving in the right direction and you're doing the right thing. But the mental health, don't underestimate the power of programming your mind to heal your body, to make you feel energized in the morning. I tell myself, you're going to wake up tomorrow and you're going to feel good. You may be tired right now. That's right. But you're going to go to sleep and you're going to wake up and you're going to feel invigorated and excited for tomorrow. And I am. But you know why? Because I'm telling myself to do so. And it's scientific. Like, even in a relationship, if you tell yourself every day, my husband gets on my nerves, my husband gets on my nerves. And then when he walks in the kitchen, you're going to be like, you get on my nerves. But if you change that, if you start to say, well, you know what? My husband goes and gets me Starbucks. Oh my gosh, my husband, he's so sweet. Look at how wonderful he loves our daughter. If you tell yourself the positive things, when you see him walk into the kitchen, you're going to be like, I'm so grateful. I love you. I'm so grateful for you in my life. Like, I'm happy, because you're teaching yourself to be happy. But, so that's how I keep my mental health going. Yoga, all those things, going out skating with my daughter, taking a walk, just those things, and appreciating and recognizing that every single moment, Claudia, that we aren't suffering or struggling, we're on the plus side. We're on the plus side. I woke up today. I get another stab at it. Let's do this.
Awesome. What a wonderful way to end our conversation today, even though I don't want it to end. But thank you so much for your time, Aalia. Is there anything that I didn't ask you that you wanted to share with the audience? Anything that you want to say to close off, in your own words, something that touches you?
I'm just going to really say this. You asked amazing questions. You're amazing. And I really, really, yes, I could talk to you all day long. I feel like I'm talking to a sister. I know I'm talking to a sister. And with your audience, I feel like I'm talking to people who get it and will receive this. But from my heart, I am just going to say, if you are out there and you do have the opportunity to come to EmpowerCon, please do. We are rebranding it, and that's a struggle to get people out of their comfort zones and even to understand what we're trying to bring to you, to all of us. And so that's really just my only ask. And if you don't share it, please go on our page, Unsugarcoated Media or EmpowerCon_LA, share the flyer. That's no effort, no cost, but share what we're doing, because it really does make a difference in other people's lives. We know it. We saw it last time. In fact, a woman actually wrote a book subsequently. She had gotten up and asked a question, and then she wrote a book later. And I said, I really hope that day helped you. She goes, oh, that day was everything. I might have not even written the book if it hadn't have been for what I got that day. So please know it's special. Please know it's valuable. And more importantly, know that you deserve it. You deserve to be there. That's one of our things. You deserve this. If people can go spend $5,000 to go to Tony Robbins, you can do this. But what makes you any different? You deserve that. You deserve the ability to grow and be connected and just walk out of there feeling like, I have an idea, I have a vision, I've grown, I have a community I'm part of, I'm not alone. And, that's all I ask. Please be open to that.
That's awesome. And as a Hollywood maker that you are, I will put the little pointers out on your website as well to make sure that people get to hear more about you and how to reach you, because you have so much knowledge that you can empower to young people. And I love that you have a mentorship with Unsugarcoated Media. So that's awesome. Thank you so much, Aalia. I hope to have you again once the new book comes out. And to all of you guys, remember to like and subscribe. Send us your comments. If you have any questions for Aalia that you would like her to answer, send them to us and we'll make sure that she gets them. And we'll see you next time.